anything you want to say, babes?
I just want to say thank you very much to everyone that's out there fighting for me, team that's come together, and the support has been amazing. I've got a table full of rock stars here that are all working tirelessly around the clock fighting for this cause with me. And I just want all you guys out there across the world to know that I'm going to justify your effort, and I'm going to come back stronger and bigger and badder. And once I get back on my feet, we're going to justify all this. Make sure that all you guys' efforts don't go unnoticed. We're going to come together and have a huge party.
Suck it now. Hell yeah. I know my dogs are watching, and if you ain't, I know you will be. And if you are watching and you ain't my dog yet, I know you will be, because I'm Swede and I'm here to help you get busy living. What's that? For me, that's 55 straight months of going on at least one epic adventure every single month. But for you, it's the art and science of getting busy living. It's living a purposeful, deliberate, and intentional life. It's believing that whatever you thought you could be when you were a kid, you still can be, unless you just can't dunk. But maybe we can't all be NBA players, but we could be everything else we want to be as long as you set your mind to it. But things get in the way. And this week, have you ever felt like you got it all together and everything is yours no matter what? No? Well, sounds like you're in denial. The first symptom is denial. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight, because denial can steal your dreams. So how you deal with it is important when it comes to getting busy living. But first, since nothing is worth having if it ain't worth sharing, please help me welcome to the stage out of Los Angeles, the dynamic D-Rex.
I like how you really got to complete that whole song every single week. I do appreciate it. Thank you so much. Once again, happy to be here.
Kidding me? That's my favorite part of the week.
I think it's mine too.
Oh yeah.
And you know what? I'm happy to see that people are already here hanging out with us. Please say hello in the comments. Please tell us where you're tuning in from, because we like to know. And we also like to play our little eerie graphic because it's fun for us. So entertain us, please. Yeah, this week talking about denial, which I think just about everybody would have something to say about this. So, don't be afraid to put your own stories and ideas in the comments, because it's also a little bit tricky, right? Don't you think this is a little bit of a tricky subject?
Yeah, well, it is because, intrinsically, what makes it what it is what, like you came up, like you were talking about, it's funny in itself. The first symptom is denial. If you don't think you have it, well,
right. It's that one thing. And, no, in no way am I comparing denial with stupidity, but you ever hear that thing, like, how do you know if you're stupid, if you're too stupid to know that, know? And it's just like, you're in denial. How are you supposed to know you're in denial?
Yeah. Like if you can't pick out the dumb one in the room, you are the dumb one in the room. And this is a loophole like that. That's why I brought it up the way I did earlier, is that, it makes it funny, and if you don't take a look at yourself, you guys are going to see a repeating theme when we talk about, the art of getting busy living, is that it's advice, obviously, but you're going to notice that there's a lot of, just about everyone is self-awareness. Right? Just about every time we've come at the audience with something that we want to share that we think could potentially be holding them back from getting busy living, whether it's belief in themselves, which is why we bring you guests regularly with the stories of overcoming adversity, because if they can do it, we can do it, right? So believing in yourself is important. And, the level of belief that you have for yourself, I think is correlated to how aware you are of yourself. And, if you consider denial, when you're trying to make yourself more aware, and we highly recommend meditating and reflecting and that kind of stuff regularly. If you're in denial, that is wasted time a lot of times,
but it just might be a necessary part of moving along from a disappointing situation. It might be that we need to go through that healthy little bit of denial so it just doesn't hurt as bad as it could. And that's the thing about denial, is it needs to be temporary. You can't stay there long.
Well, that's the thing is that's the trick, you know, if you're not being honest with yourself, you know, and considering whether or not you are denying it, you know, that's what makes this such a to me a crucial statement that I didn't write, but was written in the Book of Swede, or the Life and Year of Swedism's book. I've had
Yeah,
so many people
why don't you
call
tell
it.
us?
I've
Why
had
don't you
some
tell
people
us that?
call it the Book of Swedes to me. The Book of Swede to me. I mean, people have been talking to me about this since I was in high school. You know, the Book of
Uh-huh.
Swede. Like so,
Uh-huh.
this is not the Book of Swede. The Book of Swede is still pending.
Uh-huh.
The Life and Year of Swedism's book, though, is it's So what I've done through the recommendation of the team about trying to give the Help Swede Walk Again people, something in return is put together a collection of things that have been part of my Facebook story, which we fully believe the Facebook contingency is what saved my life. So I have a little bit of loyalty and special part of me. I loves that Facebook history. So here it is for you. If all you got to do is drop 50 at the hswa.org, and you'll get yourself a copy of the book reserved. Once we get 1,000 reservations, then we're going to send a copy of the book to you guys. We're going to pull 2 names out of the people we sent books to, or pull a name, and that person's got them plus 1. So 2 people are going to Alaska for 7 days and 6 nights with Scooty Wells. And you're going to be able to do 2 seasonal excursions up there. So you want to go whale watching, you want to go salmon fishing, you want to go, glacier hiking, whatever. You do it with Scooty Wells. You're going to work with him on whatever you guys can do for a week. We got overland vehicle rental. We got ATVs. If you want to go fishing, you want to go to the Arctic Circle. That might be a tough one, but hey, man, Scooty Wells knows how to pull things off. So that's a great, awesome way of getting busy living for you. So with the Get Busy Living Project, we're sending people to Alaska. We're trying to strengthen your mind once a week. We're trying to give you a book that you can refer back to. And we're trying to send my boy Schaefer down to Panama. So by all means, please, guys, help us get there. Come at us with the help. Go to hswa.org and get yourself a copy of that book. Yeah. So the book is what inspired this topic this week. And so what is denial? What causes it? It's basically, it's a psychological defense mechanism that helps you cope. Anytime you kind of struggle to accept or acknowledge reality or truth, it's too uncomfortable or distressing or threatening, it's people in denial like that, ignoring facts about your life as a symptom of denial. So like if you're not able to really reflect and look back and be honest with yourself, you could have something that's standing in the way of growth and progress that could hold people expire and go on to the next phase without ever admitting the truth to themselves. And this one is especially personal to me, D-Rex, because like you said earlier, denial has been a defense mechanism for me, and I can't say in all confidence, to be honest with you, that that I'm going to be able to just get over it and stop using it as a defense mechanism so easily,
And that's understandable, but why don't you elaborate on that?
Well, for example, from the time I was facing not being able to move my body, when I woke up in that Bali hospital, she was like, "Can you feel this?" And I was like, "No," because I told her I couldn't move, and I was like, "Wait a minute," because I asked her to hand me my phone. And I went to grab my phone, and my body I couldn't grab my phone. I was like, "What?" She's like, and I'm like, "No," and she's like, "Oh, well, can you feel this?" I'm like, "Feel what?"
Oh.
At that point, I was in denial. I went into denial at that point. I said, okay, even though I'm paralyzed right now, I won't be forever. This is just temporary. I don't know that I'm ready to let go of that denial.
I don't know if it's
I know for
time.
sure.
I don't know if it's time to let go of that denial just yet. We haven't tried the stem cells.
speaking of that, we got to get Schaefer down there first. Schaefer's plus Schaefer will be 1. We got 9 more after that, and then we'll get to that, But the problem is that there's so many collateral damages that come from denying, my condition, because that's just one way of looking at it. That's just one perspective, but in so many ways, I know that I'm not going to be able to make real progress until, you can't, I've told this analogy to people, you can't swim across the river. If you want to hold on to one side, you have to take the risk of going all the way into the water, and sometimes, I don't know, I feel like I find myself wading up and down the coast of the river and I'm fooling myself into thinking I'm swimming across the river when I'm really just floating down and swimming back up. I want to say, hey, we got a special guest, Lori, is Schaefer's mom. Lori, thank you so much for your willingness to walk this journey with us. It's not always black and white making that decision. You'll be confronted with circumstances and decisions that you have to make when you decide to pursue something like this with us that you might not have anticipated, and I didn't either, because this is not something I've ever done either. But I appreciate, you've been such a soldier the whole way. So I appreciate you being so, unflappable in your resolve, and just not caring and being willing. I appreciate that. So, Lori, we want to get you on later on today so you can give us an update on Shafe. Yeah. So stick around. Stick around, and we'll bring you on at the end of the show and tell us what's up with the little guy. He's recently had some surgery, and so we'll oh, come on, girl, don't get me all teared up over here. My face can't leak during this time of the day.
Sure it can.
Man, it almost did a minute ago. Man, this is not easy to talk about. Honestly,
right? It's serious.
And here's the deal. There's been some topics that we've done since we've trying to go through the mindset of getting busy living with everybody that I felt really fully confident about. There's been topics that we were doing it because I didn't know anything about it. And I was like, man, this would be a good thing to share. Sometimes and you're sharing, sometimes you don't know and you're sharing, learning, And
we've done a lot of learning.
Yeah. And this one here is really personal, because I'm not real confident that I can make real serious progress without getting over this denial. But we just said wholeheartedly that maybe it's not time for me to get over this denial. So, I'm not going to get into the intricacies of how that, how it butterflies into my life. I just want to get in. I just wanted to be, be real with everyone and let you guys know that we're, I'm trying to come at you guys with some real talk,
Yeah, we always try to bring personal stories to the table and be vulnerable with you because we're just real people here. We're not coaches or experts, but we're having a real conversation with you.
Yeah. Look in the mirror it's just looking in the mirror and talking to yourself and telling, because we're always talking to ourselves, but we don't always learn by looking at ourselves when we're talking to ourselves. When another person is talking to you, you're learning what they're saying by watching their mouth and seeing their body language when they're talking to you. So it's not just the words that are coming out of their mouth. It's not just their thoughts, but we as humans often only pay attention to our own words and thoughts. We don't pay attention to our own body language, so looking in the mirror when you're talking to yourself and doing this, reflecting to find out if you have denial or which. It's not a question of if you do. We all have some measure of it, but which ones are you denying that are protecting yourself? Which ones are you denying that you need to get over? When you're doing that, it helps to look in the mirror. It really does, man. I mean,
I have a list of of things here, ways to recognize that you're in denial. Now, it's not on some fancy graphic, but I can slowly go down them. And because I think it's an interesting point. Like, if you're in denial, that's your reality. How do you get out of your reality into the real reality, you know? And it seems like a very tricky situation to tell someone, listen, the thing that you believe right now is not real. How many people would believe that if someone came up and said that, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
right. It sounds ridiculous.
right. So somebody going to be like, oh, really? Tell me more. They're going to be like, get out of here, you know? So, like, what are some of the ways you can recognize denial? If there is a traumatic or stressful thing that has happened to you, but you just feel numb about it, you actually have no feelings, which would be unusual because humans have feelings and reactions to things. So if you actually don't have any reaction, that's one way that you could realize that you're in denial.
Wow.
Minimizing or dismissing concerns from others. Avoiding information on it or any reminders of it. And I think that one's important. If you find yourself avoiding actually getting real answers on something, you might be in denial. I'm currently in denial that my taxes might be due soon. I don't want any information on that. I don't want any reminders at all. That's so stressful. If you find yourself engaging in a lot of escapism or distractions instead of actually moving forward or tackling a problem, I mean, some escapism, some distractions are normal. That's a human's life. But if you find yourself avoiding something and going to the distraction always, that might be a sign you're in
Okay,
denial.
so let me ask you this. Am I guilty of this here then? I feel like my life is a series of things I forgot I was doing.
No, that's ADHD.
Oh, we haven't done an episode on that yet.
Hey, it's coming up.
I'm seeing a psych therapist in a couple of weeks, you know, so we'll see what he says.
That might be worth investigating. Okay, there's only two more here.
Go ahead. Sorry.
If you find yourself justifying or rationalizing your own problematic behavior instead of taking into account that it might be hurtful or problematic to someone else. Or blaming others or external factors instead of taking accountability. And you know what I like to do is I like to really practice taking accountability even for things that I didn't do. This kind of helps me stay accountable for my own life, not for what the other person did, of course. Yeah. Because, you know, when you are trying to get out of denial, it might seem like you are condoning whatever happened. You know, you might, like, if you're trying to accept what happened, it might feel like you're just condoning it. And that's not exactly true. Acceptance is the next step, but you're not condoning anything that happened. You're just accepting. Accountability. Accountability is so important. So much that when people do something wrong to me, I just think, how did I enable that? Or at least how did I enable my reaction to it? You know?
Yeah. That, I think the last one, I think that's probably the most prominent one, is when we are blaming others or assigning accountability to others. They could literally out loud say to you, "You're denying you did it," and making it seem like I did it. You know? So that, like, actually works in English, you know. But in self-reflection, you know, so, you know, with each one of these subjects that we don't have an expert talking about, I always go and look at peer-reviewed studies about, you know, things, and you know, to try to get an idea of what the experts are saying. And maybe I should start, like, quoting these resources that I picked this.
Yeah, if you're, you know, if you are quoting something, definitely put the resources up. And people might want to check that out.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just browse. I go down rabbit holes, and
Yeah,
bring,
yeah.
So like, one thing that I thought was really interesting was, one of the journals that I read about dealing with denial was that defeating it with devotion, defeating denial with devotion.
Mm,
They didn't word it that way. I came up with the defeating, but they were talking about, being committed, to things, and just being committed in itself, is a little bit, there's a caveat to commitment, uh, or to devotion that's not present in commitment. Just like there's a caveat when you hear me say that getting busy living is about a purposeful, deliberate, intentional life. Deliberate and intentional seem similar, or are similar, but they're not
mhm,
identical. There's a caveat
mhm,
to intentional that's not present in deliberate. Just like there's a caveat to devotion that's not present in commitment. So devotion to
mhm,
overcome denial, it's appropriate because it addresses the the things that make denial what it is. It's a knowledge of a problem, but an assignment of blame. So that's a specific way of coping with a specific problem. Just like devotion is a specific way of overcoming. Does that make sense? So overcoming devotion or denial with devotion, is it's kind of like, it's a very specific. It's like learning that you can put a cup over a flame to put it out. Like, you ever seen a candle that,
mhm.
you ever see your teacher teach you about oxygen, or Mr. Wizard back in, like, when you're 7, taught us that if you take the oxygen away from a flame, that it'll go out, you know?
Mhm.
And so having that intricate knowledge of how to overcome that problem, a lot of people just blow the flame out. So a lot of people in denial try to overcome denial would have other methods, but doing it with devotion, and the specific caveats of devotion is, I thought, I'd like to actually talk about that as well as we go forward, because,
That's
um,
interesting. That's an interesting way of dealing with your denial. Because it's like a transfer of energy, right? Like you're putting all this energy into no, and then you can take that no energy, you can put it into yes, into something with a lot of meaning and purpose and positivity.
it's yeah, it's kind of like, it's almost like devotion and denial are they're almost like partners in crime, but one's the good cop and the other's the bad cop, but they're both like doing it the same. They both ride in the same car, wear the same clothes. They just,
Hmm.
one causes the problem and the other one fixes it, I guess is a good way of putting it,
Hmm.
and so basically devotion, it's like, so I got a definition here. Devotion refers to a profound and steadfast commitment, dedication, or loyalty to a cause, belief, principle, or purpose. All right. See, they use those words specifically, and that's, you use the word commitment in devotion, and you wouldn't necessarily be able to accurately completely fit devotion inside commitment. Okay. So I'll
Yeah,
read it again.
commitment's more like an agreement, and devotion is more from the heart.
Right. I agree. Devotion refers to a profound and steadfast commitment, dedication, or loyalty to a cause, belief, principle, or purpose.
Hmm.
It involves a wholehearted and passionate focus on something greater than oneself. See, greater than oneself. That's also not necessarily
Hmm.
present in commitment. Often driving individuals to align their actions, values, and efforts toward the fulfillment of that purpose. See, when you deny something, you're denying something very specific. It's not just like saying, Bart Simpson says, "Nobody saw me. I didn't do anything." That's me. That's just vindicating yourself of all wrongdoing. But when you're in denial, that's like somebody's accusing you of something specific and you're saying specifically no to it, and that's why, devotion is so perfect for the solution, because it's also extremely specific, and I love how this definition was worded. It involves a wholehearted and passionate focus on something greater than oneself, often driving individuals to align their actions, values, and efforts toward the fulfillment of that purpose.
Hmm.
Devotion, it's bigger than you. and you're aligning everything you have in yourself towards it. You can commit to church on Sundays, but that don't mean you're going to church all day, every day. Devotion is like, it's all in-ness, you know? And when you devote to something, there are aspects of your life that snap into alignment. There's a clarity of purpose. Like, first and foremost, you know exactly what your destination is. You know, so when you wake up each morning, you don't just wander around, or you don't just sit on the couch, because you're going somewhere. You know, there's a direction in your life. And like, when I started really getting into that thought after I read that article, I read it twice. The first time I read it, and I was just kind of sinking in as I was doing other things, and then I went back and read it again, because I thought that was such a powerful way of putting it, you know. And when you're devoted and you have that clarity of purpose, it gives you a sense of fulfillment, you know. And if you've ever experienced fulfillment, talk to somebody about that experience, because not everybody has. Just advice to the audience, you know, you're enlightened. If you've experienced fulfillment, you're an enlightened one in that way, because a lot of people haven't. It's like a lot of women haven't had orgasms, I've heard. Dang it.
What?
Speaking now, I want to say what's up to Lil Boozy. Lil Boozy,
You know,
I was glad I'm able to do it tonight.
I was going to say, speaking of somebody who knows about this, is her, and she's here tonight. Hey, Erin, how's it going?
She knows about devotion or orgasms.
Oh, you know, I can only speak on the former, not the latter. But boy, does she know about devotion, and boy, does she know about denial. Like, we should have had her on this week, right?
Yeah. And look, if you're still tuning in, raise your hand, and we'd love to have you on it. Because, so if you haven't, go back and check out. We had a podcast a few months back where Lil Boozy came on, and she is going to school to be a minister. Is it school? Ministry? She is devoted. Yeah. That's the point. Whatever it is, whatever the pathway it is for her to be able to get on that soapbox. And I can't wait to see her on the soapbox, because, like, I'm tired of looking down at her all the time.
And, you know, it's not only that, like, you know, she had plenty of struggles with alcoholism, and then she's devoted herself to this path. And it would be easy for her to be in denial about lots of things that happened in her life, but she's faced them all. And that's the accountability part of it that's super important. I also think that along with accountability, you need to strive for vulnerability, which is something that I struggled with for a really long time. I was raised by a parent who kind of modeled that strength is in the denial and silence. So when I would do something that maybe hurt somebody or hurt somebody's feelings, I would just pretend it didn't happen. I'd just move along. And even today, I was in a video chat, and I accidentally moved ahead of the line and posed a question first. And then I realized very quickly, I didn't raise my hand. And I knew the entire time I should have apologized in the chat section. And I didn't do it. And I really regret it. And like I didn't hold any accountability there today. And I felt really ashamed of myself, because I'm like, what is all this work I've done on myself? You know, I'm still hiding, you know, nobody's perfect, but accountability and vulnerability are the ways out of denial. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah. Well, vulnerability is, well, we did an episode on that. That's one that really, really sticks with me. The vulnerability and the forgiveness, I think, were the ones that really so far have stuck with me. Aside from the ones where we've had guests, I mean, wow, some of the guests that we've had, like kidney donors and brain tumors and home invasions, And alcoholism is just as serious. If you can mess your whole life up with alcoholism. We've had some alcohol survivors. Wow, and we've had our share of adventurists, and people that are selling boats and real estate. Also,
I was going to say, and we have the odd yacht salesman here and there.
Well, getting busy living, man. We got to have some success stories on there too. That means actually all of our guests have had some. That's the point, though, is that all of our guests have had some level of success and some level of inspiration. Okay, that they are even no matter what, and the ones that have achieved the levels of success that are bragworthy now also had their share of adversity. They're just further along over in the overcoming process, part of the process. But nevertheless,
say a quick hello to Smiles.
Smiles is in the house. What's up, dog? Good evening. Good evening.
Wonderful to have you here.
Yeah. So going back to defeating denial with devotion.
Yes.
Some other notes I have here. That devoted individuals prioritize and uphold their core values in their actions and decisions. Okay, that's the remedy to the habit of denial. Is that when you're devoted, you're almost by second nature, by the nature of what you're devoted to. You're going to start. You've clarified your purpose. You have a level of fulfillment. So that fulfillment kind of carries you through. When I say, so getting back to fulfillment, because I've experienced this. I've had a job. Job. I was just saying I haven't had a job in almost 2 decades. I had a hustle because I didn't have if you don't have a boss, you write your own schedule and you do all the work, and there's not really a company you're working for. It wasn't really a job. It was, I was working for my people, my clients, but I had a hustle that was so fulfilling because every one of the people who I helped were extremely poor and extremely sick. And I helped them get things they needed extremely badly. And it never costed them a penny. It just costed them time, and the time that they spent with me was their favorite time of the week, just about always. A lot of them were abandoned. I can't tell you how many parents I've met that were 65, 75, 85 years old that haven't seen their kids in 20 years, and they're out there and they're barely getting in there, buying their house, and there are things in their house that haven't been moved in years because they don't have the strength to do it and anybody to come around to help. And by going there, I can't tell you how many kitchen tables I've cleaned off just so that I could show somebody how to read their Medicare handbook, and I've had daughters cry on my shoulder, and I'm not trying to big myself up. I'm trying to say that that's a fulfillment. I was reasonably compensated because of the way the insurance and everything works. But I wasn't driving up in their lawn with a Lexus. I had a modest vehicle and a modest outfit and a modest lifestyle, and I was bringing them, every bit of information I could present to them. And the thing that was so fulfilling about it was that after I left their homes, they usually knew exactly what I was talking about. I usually just taught them something very true and very accurate and undeniable because they have a handbook right here that says everything I just got done telling them. It's like I helped them read it, so that the fulfillment that came from that, I would say that was a springboard into me being able to do 54 months in a row. Was, it's amazing. It's amazing how liberating it really can. When you have a purpose and you're aligned with it and you reach the level of fulfillment in accomplishing it, it's like flying, it's like, you just float, you can float, and when you've gotten to that point, there's resilience in your life. You can actually, things happen every day. You don't always get paralyzed, but sometimes you get temporarily paralyzed. Sometimes somebody cuts you off in traffic, and then
nice segue. Nice analogy there.
And having that resilience that comes from devotion can sometimes, you can just barrel right through things and they don't even affect your mindset. And, that's something that I've been struggling with heavily lately. And that's why this is such a personal topic to me, because I have been easily rattled. And then when I go talk to myself in the mirror, I don't recognize myself sometimes lately, and what is that? I guess that's in some ways that's denial, So what do we got? What do we got? So Lil Boozy said, when I devote myself to something, I feel less about me and more about what I give my attention to.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the
taking
clarity
you
of
outside of yourself. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Powerful stuff. And humility helped me accept what I would have rather denied. Yeah. Humility. That comes with having that conversation in the mirror, because if you're being real with yourself and you're watching how you respond to yourself, because that's what in the mirror is, you're watching your body language and you're shadow boxing with yourself. If you're really being real with yourself, you'll see you can't, it's hard to hold back that frown when you're real with yourself about something that you need to change, and
back up for a second. You were talking about your Project 55, and where are we in Project 55 right now?
Aha. Good question. What's going on here? Oh, there we go. Bam.
Aha.
So we are 17 down. Number 17 was the Pacific Coast Highway. And number 18 was going to be Vegas. But the Steelers didn't make it to the Super Bowl. And I just don't know that I'm going to go to Vegas when they're not the ones playing. Like is often the case when it comes to getting busy living, it's not about always planning it out. I'm going to see what comes up as I approach the month of February and decide where I'm going to go. If you guys have any suggestions, feel free to reach out to me. I'll come at you if you're not, if it's attainable. But yeah.
Excellent.
I
just want to point out that we are 17 into 55. Now, when we started this podcast and we were at 1 or 2, it seemed like such a far way to go. But I feel like,
I know.
We're heading into the midpoint here of a big goal. We're heading into the midpoint of the huge, huge party. And maybe you want to remind people again what the huge, huge party is. What is the goal of this Project 55?
Good question. So, as a matter of fact,
I'll tell you when you're live.
All right, guys. Sorry about that. The internet here cut off. But anyway,
you can't turn your phone while live. Okay, sorry. Yeah, that's what it says.
We still good.
We're still good.
We're still there. Swede's still getting massaged. Come on in here.
Come on in.
What's up, Swede?
Anything you want to say, babes?
Yeah, did we catch any of that from last time?
No, not really.
Okay, so listen. I just want to say thank you very much to everyone that's out there fighting for me. The team that's come together and the support has been amazing. I've got a table full of rock stars here that are all working tirelessly around the clock, fighting for this cause with me. And I just want all you guys out there across the world to know that this is, I'm going to justify your efforts, and I'm going to come back stronger and bigger and badder. And we're going to come together, and once I get back on my feet, we're going to do something major. And we're going to justify all this, make sure that all you guys' efforts don't go unnoticed. We're going to come together and have a huge, huge party.
You got anything to say to the Steelers?
So I woke up after being in a fog for a month or 6 weeks, somewhere around there, I guess. I'm really guessing because my memory doesn't work very well after that period of time. To find this on Facebook's on Help Swede Walk Again page with 20,000 live views. And I asked Goody Wells, how many people think I'm going to throw them a party? a huge party. And
Mhm.
Scott looked me dead in the eye. He's like, probably all of them. I was like, dang. So, so what do you do with your life when you realize you wake up and find that you've been rescued by the public? Well, especially when you've told them all that you were going to throw them a huge party, you better get creative about throwing a party. And it's one thing to throw a party. It's one thing to throw a huge party where everybody that deserves an opportunity to attend can. And since the estimate that I heard was that the average donation that rescued me was less than $50, like 40 some dollars. I've never been the one to go back and do the math. That's not something I'm ready to review yet. That tells me that there's thousands of people. So I can't just move all Graham's furniture into one bedroom and throw a kegger in the basement. Although I've had plenty of people in Erie ask me to do that. No, but so in deciding what type of pathway am I going to walk where I'm affording myself the ability to do something like that, and also doing it in a manner where I'm in touch with everyone, or at least I have a way of communicating with everyone. And affording it and all that, and still being able to give back for the second lease on life. That's the most important thing, is I want anyone that checks in on me and saying, well, where's that guy now? Now what's he doing? I don't want to be the guy that, I don't want to be Lieutenant Dan. Forrest runs into Lieutenant Dan, a couple of years later, Lieutenant Dan wants to choke him out. I don't want to be that guy that's, wishes he hadn't been rescued. I don't want, that's not a good way to get, it's not giving you guys your money's worth, but I want to be giving back, and finding out the best way to do it was stem cells. I really feel absolutely convinced and passionate about that. I'm meeting with Rod on Tuesday to talk about the next move with the HSWA. I'm also meeting with the University of Arizona about their doctorate degree, about nonprofit management. Found some things out recently that, we used to do Swede updates. Found some things out recently about my plan that might not be doable. So I've had to pivot. So I'm meeting with the University of Arizona. I may stay there. I was considering going on campus at ASU, but now I'm looking at other ideas for reasons that are beyond the scope of this conversation. But yeah, I'm dedicated to this nonprofit. I'm going to make this thing work first. And this podcast is just something that me and you do once a week to try to support it. And it's all an effort really try to give back and show that I appreciate, what was done for me. And so, the podcast is the way I communicate. Basically, I just want to be available. I just want to be moving in that direction, and looking forward to the day that we get to say that we've helped one person get stem cells. I know we've already helped because we've raised money, guys. By the way, thank you for continuously. The donations have been coming in, and there's Schaefer merch is going off the shelf, which as a matter of fact, if you guys aren't aware about that, check this out real quick.
Okay.
Oh, sucky now, just in time for Christmas, but no time to wait. So go to the hswa.org and click on the menu dots where you'll find the donate tab that leads to the Schaefer Squad merch link. Scroll past the greeting to find our wide range of Schaefer Squad merch, from adult tees, kid tees, onesies, and beanies for the babies, adult hoodies, hats and kicks, an apron for the cook, a hoodie for the pet, and a puzzle for the family. All prices include the outrageous cost of shipping, and all proceeds go toward helping Schaefer get a potentially life-changing stem cell treatment. You gotta believe it. And always remember, we're all in this together.
You can see it when you see me, but you gotta believe me. Ain't nothing coming easy my way. No, I fucking work for this.
I love it. Go ahead.
What a sweet little guy. Like, I think it's important that we see his face every week and remember what we're trying to raise money for, because it's a real person, guys. This is real. This is real life. And when you donate to this, you're helping a real person grow and live in this life. And you don't know how many lives he can change through this help that he receives. So it's kind of like one of these things where, yeah, you might donate $5, but then it goes and it becomes way bigger than that $5.
Yeah. Yeah, wow, that's a profound way of putting it. And I mean, it's hard to explain. I cannot suppress the emotions I feel when I think about the fact that I was dead. I was dead 3 times the night that and Micah revived me, and then you guys just followed her lead from there on out until now I'm able to, you know, basically support myself, you know. So it's I can't over exaggerate how I have an endless supply of gratitude and humility from that, and thankfulness and gratitude. And so to be able to help, you know, in a way that I've been helped is really it's my driving, it's my purpose. You know, we were talking about overcoming denial with devotion. That's how I'm able to do that. And when I say I'm able, I don't want to make it seem as though I'm so able that I don't have off days, and that like I'm being as frank as I can be to you guys right now about how I'm suffering from denial big time, and I'm frankly using it as a mechanism to keep myself out of depression sometimes, you know, like, and it doesn't work every day, you know, but being devoted, like we were saying, having something bigger than myself that allows me to when the smell of depression is all around me, like I'm sitting in an outhouse in my own stench, like I'm able to get a fresh breath of air when I remember. But man, it could be, you know,
that was kind of a gross analogy. I'm kind of grossed
but
out.
I hope that, you know, and I hope that you know, had a mental image there, because that's how memories are made, and that's how, you know, that's how you can learn.
Okay, valid,
You know?
valid. Hey, can we say hello to our Schwoy boy here?
What's up? Schwoy boy is in the house. He said, "Oh yeah, on time? No way. Never. Love y'all."
Yeah, you know, speaking of time, I know there's a lot you still want to say here. Let's get to it.
Yeah. Because I mean, devotion to defeat denial, like I said, it's kind of like hitting the hammer right on the hammer right on the head of the nail by doing it that way, you know. And in order, so I in my research and finding how to be devotional with denial, there's some things that there's
Wait,
like
I think you said that backwards.
How to beat denial with devotion.
Yeah, just to be clear, in case we want to use that snippet later.
So I also don't have a fancy graphic where I can push it in and go one by one, but I mean, it probably wouldn't be hurtful to learn how to do that. I'm sure Canva can do that kind of stuff. But you know, it's kind of like, so first you got to self-reflect. All right, define your core values. You know, and because when you have a purpose, when you know where you're going, your core values are what allow you to navigate the potholes. And sometimes you're going to have protesters in the way. You know, literally these days. But potholes and protesters, whatever it is, you know, your core values is how you that's the weaponry that you're going to use to defeat those obstacles, right? And along the way, you have to set meaningful goals, things that by setting meaningful goals, they will help. Because sometimes if you look at, I'm devoted to this and it's so great, you know, sometimes people are just devoted to their ideas of heaven, so they're devoted to God. Well, that they don't realize that until they die. So how do you stay devoted when little things come along the way if you don't want to die yet? You know, so setting meaningful goals is a way of having short-term things that help you stay strong. You know what I mean? And so a way to do that, I know we've talked about this before, and you're welcome to elaborate. Creating a vision board can help you with that. You know, if you have a vision board, you know, having a vision board will help you visualize your goals, and you can be creative with it, and you update it. You know, and I've made digital visual boards.
That's what I do.
Yeah, you have a visual one, a digital one. Would you put it on Pinterest or something like that?
Yes, exactly.
That's awesome.
So on Pinterest, you can have different boards, and just make one. You don't have to title it vision board. You can just title it yes, or, you know, whatever you want. and just collect pictures in there of things that you want your life to become. And I visit my vision board several times a day. Anytime I'm starting to have like self-defeating thoughts or things that just aren't helpful, I go right there and I start looking at the things I'm trying to create, the things I'm trying to do, and just keep that in mind. And I feel like I'm devoted to my plans. I feel like I'm devoted to my own future. And having self-defeating thoughts, or those, what is that called? Imposter syndrome, things like that. They're not helpful. Those are not helpful thoughts. So whenever I find that I'm having unhelpful thoughts, I go right to my vision board. And these are pictures that I've been collecting for a long time. So there's plenty to look at. And usually by the time that I've looked through what I want to look through, I click on one and I look further into it and give you more ideas. You can collect more pictures. I'm feeling better. I'm feeling refocused. That's what I think the vision board, it focuses you on the right.
You think D-Rex, that maybe we could have a show in the future where we walk our audience through creating a vision board? We could even like do it online for them. Do you think you could create yourself a vision board, or maybe we could make an HSWA vision board right live for everyone, and let them.
Yeah, and then people can create their own. Yeah, I think it's a good idea because, every week we get on here and we talk about living your best life, get busy living. But having a vision board could possibly be the first step for people. And if we skip that, they might not get to step 2. So
yeah, and speaking of step, I like that because it's a jump off point. It's like a checkpoint. Start there. Okay, bam, where are we going from here? So I got, speaking of steps, I got some steps here of devotion to defeat denial. Okay. Vision board is a jump off. Okay. Develop a routine. Okay. Routine. Developing a routine helps you make decisions in ahead of time, and that minimizes the number of bad decisions you'll make. Plain and simple. Seek accountability. Okay. Seeking accountability helps you be real with yourself. And like we talked about from the very beginning, sometimes being real with yourself, the whole reason denial is a thing is because you're not being real with yourself, right? So that's like, it's maybe an oxymoron, but you have to, having accountability, seeking accountability from others is helpful. That's why, we're trying to build a community here, and another step, practice mindfulness. Be aware of yourself on a regular basis. Give yourself time. Give yourself time to think about these things, because just because you're reflecting and talking to yourself in the mirror doesn't mean you always have the answers. You have to be real with yourself enough to admit that you don't have the answers and let yourself think on it. Tell yourself right to your face while you're talking to yourself in the mirror, saying, what, I'm not really sure what I want to do about that. I'm going to think on that. That's the mindfulness. That's why giving yourself time, like by doing things like meditating, which, man, I've been doing it in the mornings a lot lately, and it's helpful. Okay.
It really is.
Other things that devotion helps you do, it helps you embrace challenges as opportunities. If you're devoted to something, you're looking at it down the road. Maybe it's a mountain, you're looking at the mountaintop, and and you're setting goals, and which is just the next couple steps up the mountaintop, and you're gonna have challenges along the way. You embrace them challenges as opportunities to get better at climbing that mountain, because you got to climb the mountain. You're not going to let this challenge stop you. So you look at dealing with the challenge as an opportunity to get. It's an opportunity to be competitive for growth and get better. Yeah, absolutely. And when you win, each time you overcome something, celebrate that achievement. Because that encouraging yourself by giving yourself a celebration. To me, that's what the Get Busy Living project in itself, as far as 55 months in a row, is that it's celebrating my achievements. Once a month, I'm like, okay, man, I've been grinding all month. I'm gonna. That's how it started. And the first time I realized I was on a streak, I was 19 in a row. You know whose house I was at? I was at Smiles' house.
Oh, nice.
What's up, Smiles? In the house. Yeah, I was at Smiles' house, and I was like, wait, 1, 2, 3. I had just gotten back. I had just taken my girl to wine country. And I had just gotten back. I was driving in from Atlanta. And Smiles calls me up. He's like, "You're coming over, right?" And I was like, "Coming over?" He's like, "Yeah, man, I talked about it like 2 weeks ago." I'm like, "Bro, 2 weeks ago, you invited me over tonight? You thought I was going to remember?" I was like, "I'm on my way up from Atlanta, man. I'm beat. I've been going hard for 2 weeks." He's like, "Come on, man, 2 more hours. Go hard for 2 more hours." So, yeah, I went over. That's where I was at when I realized it. In remaining devoted, you're going to be continuously learning. You know, the reasons these things matter is because denial can come right back up, step right back in where it was, and you might not even know it because you've been denying it your whole life that it was there in the first place. So it might just be a comfortable smell. So by doing these things, the continuous learning that you'll get from these overcoming challenges repeatedly, you just get better and better at it, and along the way, there's going to be times when you lose, accept that you've lost, but don't let it roll you all the way back down the mountain. You're devoted to that purpose, and along the way, going up that mountain, you're going to have, camps along the way and communities that you're going to have an opportunity to connect with, depending on what your challenges are and who you're communicating with at that time, and really, I think I would like to stop there as far as the ways that devotion helps you defeat denial, because I want to encourage everyone to continue coming back every Thursday. And what we haven't asked for a lot, and what we don't ask for a lot, but we should, is to share this. Tell people about it,
press like on the video.
Share. And anyone that wants to put their hand in the pile with this Get Busy Living project, especially if you are a frequent social media user or abuser and you want to help with that, I've got my plan in place, and I haven't launched it yet because I honestly can't sustain it. So I don't want to launch it if I am not capable of sustaining it. I'm still trying to build a process that I can actually sustain before, I start becoming accountable. So I'm still detailing the car before I put it for sale. But if you guys want to help me detail it, we can get it for sale better. And I'm looking for people to put their hand in the pile.
You are full of analogies tonight. Hey, let's go to the comments real quick before we close this out. But I like what Aaron's saying here. Accountability. You want accountability from someone who will keep it real and isn't afraid to be honest in their feedback and deliver it from a place of love. And delivering it from a place of love is so important, because sometimes, when you're trying to deal with someone who isn't facing reality, it's easy to just want to shake them and say, wake up. But that's not from a place of love. I mean, it might be, but the action is not. And it's sometimes difficult to do. But yeah, all of those things true and important. And
great. you want to Key Rod. He's the Key Rod. That's my dog. Thanks, Kiro D, for showing up.
Wonderful.
I want to comment on that. Boozy, that is why you should feel confident about your future as in certain, what is it, ministry? Because to be able to articulate it like that and identify that angle is gold. If it's somebody who is only going to tell you the bad things about yourself to make themselves feel better about themselves, that's not accountability. I mean, it might be helpful to know somebody else's opinion, but you got to get it from somebody that's going to be giving it to you for the right reasons and from the right places, and that's wow. Little Boozy's she's killing it again tonight. Like, not just what you say, but how you say it. Yeah.
Yes.
Speaking of, people that you can turn to for a good opinion is Kiro. Kiro's good for keeping it real with me, and I've had to have some conversation with him, and I hope that he feels that I'm good at keeping it real with him, Lori, I tried to get her on, and I guess you weren't looking on your text, Lori. Dang, we wanted to. Well, we're gonna get you on. We're gonna get you on if we'll talk about your availability. What's it say? Awesome show. Glad I joined, and I'm glad I snapped out of being in denial about Shafe's diagnosis and decided to get busy living and learn about stem cells. Yeah. So she said she had her phone in hand. Lori, I texted you, babe, about 15 minutes ago. Okay.
Well, we can definitely have her on next week, because I want to definitely make sure we have the right amount of time for her to share.
Yeah. Yeah, and we want to make sure that you guys know ahead of time that we're not going to drag you past 7. I mean, sometimes we have, and we just might again. But Lori, we know you're in this for the long haul. You're devoted to this cause, just like we are. So we're going to get you on, if not next week. Oh, she said I got my ring light on. Damn,
she's all ready.
Well, you know what, Lori? How about this? Okay, stick around. for those of you that got to go, I just want to show you a little something that we got going on here. What we're hoping to be able to do each week is welcome you guys to come in next week. We want to tell you about what next week's show is about. So let's go ahead and get that down there a little bit off there, so D-Rex, what we want to do each week is we want to pose for the thumbnail. So are you ready? So guys, next week's show, every Thursday at 9 Eastern. Every Thursday at 9 Eastern, we do the Get Busy Living podcast. We're just trying to break y'all off some knowledge, some research that we find, some experiences that we get from people that we know. And sometimes it's going to be your words, like Lil Boozy was dropping some knowledge on us tonight. What we are is trying to build a community of people that want to get busy living a purposeful, deliberate, intentional life. And at the end of each show, we want to do is we want to get you guys to come and start pausing and posing with us. So right now, me and you are going to do it, D-Rex. But hey, who knows? Next week we might have 10 people. All right. So on the count of 3, do your move. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Oh. Okay, so that wasn't very good because I just got dust in my contact lenses. It backfired after all that planning.
Well, you know what? You only get one shot, so you're going to get a 1, 2, 3 do your move next week.
Okay.
But hey guys, every Thursday we appreciate you. We love you, and always remember, we're all in this together. No matter the weather, whether sunshine or rain, there's no joy without pain. Always remember, we're all in this together. Can I get a hell yeah?
Hell yeah.
Love you,
Thanks
D-Rex.
everybody for
See you
being
next
here.
week.
Love
Hell
you too.
Yeah.
When you see me, but you gotta believe me. Ain't nothing coming easy my way. No, I fucking work for this. I fucking work